Good morning, everyone. This is Gauri Palachandran from Katha. We are happy to welcome all of you, our esteemed panelists, and all the people who are joining the session. And thanks for taking out your time and joining an interesting session. This session, we are having Dr. Balasubramanian, who is former director academics from CBSE. He doesn't need much of introduction in the education world because even during his CBSE time, he has been instrumental for pioneering many new initiatives with the school, with the teachers, with the students. And Katha and I myself, I'm so fortunate. We have been for more than 3 decades, we have been associated with him. And even post-retirement, he is into as head of various committees, consultant and chairperson. His post-retirement life seems to be much more active than, of course, during his CBSE days also, he's quite connected with all the schools and other places. I would like to talk about Katha Utsav. After a gap of 4 years, we have started Katha Utsav. The many of the panelists, our principal ma'am, Rachna ma'am, Dr. Jyoti, Rita, Nirmal, and of course Arun is quite new to this. They are well aware. Katha National Writers Workshop. This is an initiative we are doing it with all the schools and students to enhance creative writing skills. Though through academic life they have been exposed to all the books and other things, but imagination and creativity, somewhere Katha plays a big role. And many of the principals have always said that this initiative has helped their children in their growth path in an immense way. Since it was such an unique one, and again, many schools have been connected with us and they have been asking us because after COVID years, we didn't have this. And now we have restarted this. And I'm happy to share that we are getting quite a lot of entries and students' participation. I welcome all the panelists. I welcome Dr. Bala sir, and I'm handing over the mic to Dr. Balasubramanian as a moderator. He would be starting the session with the topic what we have given right now.
Thank you, Gauri. Good afternoon, everybody. And it's indeed a pleasure to associate with Katha and with this discussion. As a matter of fact, I was just telling that my association with Katha dates back to 25 plus years when, in the board, we were, promoting the art of writing the stories among the children alongside with Katha. So after long years associating with the Katha is, I think, is a blessing in disguise. And to be very honest, I go back to my own classrooms when I was in school in probably early 60s, late 50s and early 60s, because I got into college in 63. Before that, I was the school. I still remember that when I go to a class, the teacher will come and start saying, long ago, long ago, very long ago, and all the children used to smile because a kind of a story. Every subject the teachers came with a set of stories, and that was a great stimulant for the children to learn because the stories relieved them of the stress of learning and the fear of learning. Well, when you look at the Indian education system, you will find that the approach to stories has been fundamental to all kinds of learning, whether formal or informal. All our epics, you talk of Mahabharata, or Ramayana, or for that matter, any religion, or for that matter, the kind of stories that we had, Tenali Rama stories, the stories of, Akbar and Birbal, you had Vikram and Beta. All these things were great stimulants and were really stimulating children to think differently, think intensely. And that's how we all learned. But over the period, the typology of education, the focus of education, and the objectives of education has changed a lot thanks to the technology. So, as one who has lived with technology, who has seen, the dynamics of technology, I normally used to say that we have moved into a world of palm top from a world of palm leaf. We used to write on palm leaves. Now we write on palm tops. That's dynamics of learning today. And what happens is that in this particular domain, the focus is more on data, the focus is more on information, the focus is more on pausing and examination. In that context, number of the ways of informal learning in schools, including the storytelling, have all been absolutely marginalized and minimized. And that's probably is the context in which we will be sharing our opinion and views. Even people who are great educators like Howard Gardner, he said that probably the stories are the most single powerful weapons for the leaders to interact, or the leaders to counter their arguments. So stories, whether it's for a child, whether it is for a classroom, whether it is for an operational purpose or for a professional environment, they matter. For example, even in a television or a media, people very normally used to say, "Hey, what is the story about today?" So the term story is a very broad-based term, and I think the term katha in Indian literature is a very celebrated word, because a story was not merely a narration, but a story brought alongside with it a lot of life and activity. And you find in early days we used to say kavyeshu natakam ramyam. That means the drama was much more attractive, gravitating. And even the Western world today, we talk about the visual impact of learning, and wherein the stories play a very significant role. So that being the environment, I would certainly like all my parties, the panelists, to give their very candid views on how things are changing. And I recall very fondly one of the statements which I read during my graduation in one of the essays on books. Francis Bacon used to say, "Reading makes a full man, writing an exact man, and conference a ready man." And even when we are studying, our parents used to say, "It is not sufficient if you read, but write along with that." And I think the writing skills are now being compromised there. So I would like probably to start with a question that how as teachers and how as parents and the people of a changing society look at this kind of systemic decay in the process of writing. Probably let me put this question to Ms. Nirmala Vadan from Pune, and be happy to have her views. Ms. Nirmala?
Namaste, everybody. Namaste, everybody.
Namaste.
My name is Nirmal, and I'm the principal of the Kalyani School in Pune. It's a K-12 school, a CBSE school. And being in the education since the last 36 years, I can say that there has been a decline in the writing skills of the students. When a child is learning a language, we basically focus on the 4 skills, that's LSRW, which need to be inculcated in the students. A child first listens, then speaks, then the child learns to read, and finally the child learns to write. And it's a natural progression. Therefore, if any one of the previous stages are hindered, the writing skills are definitely going to suffer. So when we did not have access to the digital devices, we used to write letters. I still remember writing so many letters and going to the post office and posting them. Our children wouldn't have seen the post office also till now. We visited the libraries to take down the notes from the books. We revised by writing before exams. since there was not so much of a rush and a haste in our lives. We wrote poetries, stories, and even novels by hand. But our children live in a different world today. They speak only the language of utility, and their finer senses remain underdeveloped because there's so much of distraction of the media around them. Therefore, when it comes to the question of writing, they are at a loss. Children are naturally unwilling to write. So I was saying that actually children need to be coaxed nowadays. They have become very lazy to write, and the situation is worsening because of the technology. The children are also no more careful about the spellings or the grammars because of the autocorrect what is there in the system in the computers nowadays. And so when the children are supposed to write the exams, they make appalling mistakes. Though we do try to encourage our children to write creative writing, we have creative writing periods also in our school. We give them reading programs. We have a reading period also in our school, but still I feel that children are struggling. And in case we inculcate the habit of journal writing in our children, some of them take to it, some of them are still lazy, and we have to coax them to form that habit, which is actually very good for mental health also, and the expertise of writing skills also increase. So that's all I have to say, that we have to keep on struggling with this generation for writing, and we are
Yeah.
going to continue to do so.
Thank you, Ms. Himal. And that takes me to a very another interesting perspective, that it's not merely writing, but non-textual writing like stories, was an integral part of all our learning process. And when we wrote stories, children children in the classroom, probably a lot of imagination went through, and when the children heard the stories, they had what you call the wow experience or the aha experience, and they were really transported into a different world where they created characters in their own mind, and therefore the fertility of imagination, the creativity and innovation became a part of this dimension. May I request Ms. Jyoti to reflect on this? How do the skills of writing stories are very important for schools, and how we can engage our children on that?
Yeah. Namaste to everyone. Thank you, sir, for letting me share my perspectives about this one. I look at it as a wonderful psychological perspective that we are all trying to dwell upon. How is that? First, when the storyteller becomes the storyteller, he is the center of attraction, which everyone loves to be. So whenever each nod or an applause the child gets, he loves it. And it works on his or her self-esteem, and it provides us scaffolding for the next storytelling session. The student feels very confident, very motivated, and when the audience expresses a wow or an aha moment, it's a positive stroke for the storyteller. I expected somebody to smile at me and say aha, so that I get more motivated. But as adults, we are engrossed in our thoughts. In a classroom, you will have both jibes as well as applause. So every time there is an applause, the child feels very motivated. And he says, okay, let me think about something. And while we are at it, we should remember that as teachers or as educators, what is the purpose of storytelling at that particular moment? Is it a concept learning process? Or is it a reiteration of concepts? Or is it encapsulation of lessons? So depending on that, the story would be presented. Depending on the age of the student, we also need to provide support for guided storytelling, especially at the foundational or at the primary stage, so that the child picks up the nuances of storytelling. What I've observed that when the child has pleasant experiences in storytelling session, it acts as a gateway to enhance the self-confidence of the student, undoubtedly. No two ways about this. the experiences that he has seen or she has seen provides some kind of flesh and form to their narration. So when you spoke about this, I think we need to also think about writing stories, because storytelling, our topic is basically, are digital devices helping or affecting a child's imagination and critical thinking? So writing itself is a different genre. Somebody can tell a story. I can tell stories. I may not be able to write. And let's say, for example, a child is participating in this Katha workshop for creative writing. He wins a certificate of appreciation or a prize. Now what happens? He's ready to jump into the next level of his own achievement or success. It may prompt him to be a writer, or he's a good storyteller. And while we are at it, we need to provide a lot of support to this child. It's also like this on a pessimistic note. If there is no aha, there is no wow moment in my story narration, it'll pull me down, right? I will be trying to put the pieces together of my own experience or what I've learned from others to create that. But still, I'm unable to get that moment where I would like to see the twinkle in your eyes and I would like to see a small smile. And if the student doesn't get it, his self-esteem may be troubled. So we as teachers need to lead the child so that he becomes a better storyteller or a good writer of story writing. And I think we as children, we have been very privileged to hear stories from our mothers or grandmothers. And my Narasimha is different from what is generated by the AI. My Hanuman is my Hanuman, not what is shown in Ramanand Sagar. Thank you, sir, for letting me speak. I can go on.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Jyoti. That's a very interesting perspective that which leads me, you see, the digital technologies which have come have, in trying to provide a perspective to the classical stories, whatever they are, whether it's Indian or Western, they have tried to give a kind of a visual or auditory, modus operandi, which has created a kind of a different pattern of thinking in the minds of our children. Now, question is, in this digital world, mode of the digital mode of communicating, have we compromised with the imagination and critical thinking? Because I remember the days when I was young. Every time I read a Panchatantra story or Vikram and Betan from Chandamama, and I think after that, for at least 1 day or 2 days, I used to break my head. What could be the answer? What could be the thing? Sometimes we, even during sleep, we get scared of the Betal that is described over there. So these were psychological effects. Let me have a view from Ms. Rachana on this, especially with the digital devices coming through. Do we really think that the architecture of stories is moving towards creating a common modus operandi, rather than the individualization of, emotions? Because stories are basically emotive, and they give emotionally, emotional stimuli for the children. And I think, are we compromising in these digital technologies because of that? Can I request Ms. Rachana to respond to that?
Thank you, sir. This is a topic that's very passionate about it. Now, one thing which I strongly believe in, that with changing times, we do have to change ourselves. So it may sound cliched, but then it is important. Just a few moments ago, we were discussing about digital natives and digital immigrants. Now, that is the reality. Our children don't relate to writing so much, but then writing with a paper pencil is important. At the same time, what is actually happening now is that children want to do more of work which is incorporated with multimedia. So they are a little hesitant to write per se with pen and paper. So then for us adults who are kind of there in their life all the time, we need to find that midway so that this is also done and that is also done. Because on one hand, when we know writing with paper pencil is important, it is also important that they learn to use technology, because after all, technology is there all around us, and it is there. That is the reality. It will be there. So we cannot deprive our children. Now, uh, there is something which I strongly opine, that the problem doesn't lie with the children. The problem lies with us adults handling the children. I do, and that also not all adults. There is a small group of adults who are not very comfortable with technology, and then they are the ones, since they cannot handle their children or they cannot handle their students, so they start becoming against it. But if we don't incorporate the two things, it's not right on our parts that we are living in a time and not coaching and training our children to live in that time. So to answer your question, that how do we do it? We have to do a little of this also, we have to do a little of that also, mix and merge them, create a common platform, sometimes use only the writing work, sometimes use the technology which is embedded with writing, and allow both the means of expressions. Along with writing, I am a strong believer of drawing as well. We need to allow children to draw a lot, right from the nursery ages to the time that they are in school, right up to class 11 and 12. Drawing has got different forms of expressions. So when we are talking about katha, there is katha that can be expressed in forms of writing also, doing a comic strip or doing a sketching, or there are so many various ways. I mean, just like Jyoti ma'am said just now, that we can go on talking about it. So the crux of the whole matter is that yes, we need to put both the things together. We can't do one at the cost of the other. So
Good.
that was something how I think about it. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Ms. Rachna. That really is a very interesting perspective that you need a contextuality, and that you are in a technologically haunted world where you cannot close your eyes to technology, and therefore probably we need to position all our approaches to whatever is a platform on which we are operating, right? So that is a very good perspective, and that takes me to a very interesting question which I am going to put to Dr. Arun, because he brings with him a wide experience both in India and abroad, with a strong cultural perspective of the Indian Gurukula system. Dr. Arun, my question is that somehow I have been feeling from my days as a teacher that every subject, say, be it mathematics, be it sciences or social sciences, every subject can be contextualized in a story format, right? And learning gets anchored very well only with the kind of story formulation, because children relate to that very quickly. Children are able to understand, and it's a kind of a stress-free learning. Now, with all your experience, now the way that you have been narrating what you are doing here, I strongly believe that every piece of mathematics can be taught as a story, and for that matter, all subjects. How do you look at that?
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. So honored to be here. Thank you very much for this question, and also for giving this opportunity to all of you. I've been in US for about 12 years, and did my master's and PhD there in advanced VLSI technologies, and worked at Intel for a few years. And then, so all of cutting edge mathematics kind of flows into a silicon. So I was silicon architect in Intel, and also in Qualcomm in Chennai. So when we moved back to India, the question that we were asking ourselves is, how can we bring cutting edge technology to children in a very seamless form, in a form that they would appreciate and absorb easily? And you're bang on right, sir. It is Katha or Harikatha that actually completely revitalizes and grips them to every single concept in mathematics. It just begins even all the way from the beginning. You just go back in time and ask the child, if you know mathematics, what would you say and then say, I know mathematics. Like if you want to ask, do you know Tamil? They will say, I, E, U, I know Tamil. If you say they know English, they say A, B, C, D, I know English. But if you were to say, if you know math, what would you say? Kids will always say 1, 2, 3. The moment they said 1, 2, 3, the story completely collapses there because things start with zero, from Anadi Kala, from zero. So from zero, the question goes, how many numbers can you count with 5 fingers? It's like a story and a conversation form. So they say 5 fingers, you can count only 5. I would say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So you can go up to 31 with 5 fingers. So it's like a story of how you count 1,000 numbers with 10 fingers or 1 lakh numbers with just 20 fingers. So combinatorics expands into arithmetic expands into geometry, expands into algebra, and it's all, when a child is presented with a problem that it wants to solve, it could be the most cutting edge problem in IIT, JEE or anywhere. There's only 2 categories: one solved problem, one unsolved problem. They have stories. Both of them have stories. And the key thing that teachers have to be empowered with is these stories as starting points to just bloom, so that the child's mind blossoms into understanding that concept, and then they do just sufficient practices around that concept. So I completely agree that stories have been our past, present, as well as future for understanding cutting edge technologies, be it convolution, signal processing, artificial intelligence related to image processing, or speech processing, linguistic processing using Sanskrit, or things that we have not found out yet. Science teaches that more things we have to find. So happy to share my thoughts, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Arun. I'll revert back to you. And that takes me to our lady from Katha School, right? Because she has been rather a practitioner of the concept of Katha over here. Mrs. Rita, the question to you is that with all these digital technologies coming through to rewrite the way we write questions, re-engineer the way we approach, the emotions in the stories, liquidating the feeling of emotions. Do you really think that the kind of the psychological profile of the learner is impacted because of technologies? The way you deal with stories without technology, and the way you deal with technology, and is there a difference? And do you think that the without technology the stories would have been better? How do you react to that?
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. I am Rita Sutradhar and from Katha Lab School. It's my privilege to be here today in this important discussion, sir. So, as for your question, sir, I fully agree with the claim that the digital devices or the artificial intelligence, whatever the virtual platforms that our children are getting, are provided a broader, actually it's giving a broader and a more engaging way to educate learners, because we need to think that these devices are not making teachers out of the scenario. No, these are actually, it's a complementary. We should need to think that these are the devices are the complementary into our classroom teaching. We need to think like that. If I know I am doing the teacher storytelling in the classroom, and if anything I'm doing in the classroom, how we need I apart from textbooks, through the story, anything, we need to think that if I have something relevant, that is same thing going on in other part of the world also behind my classroom, I need to show that to those two children also. So I believe, I fully agree these devices, technologies are go beyond the traditional methods, or the whatever the integrating visual, auditory, or the hands-on kinesthetic learning, anything experiences which are especially beneficial for children for marginalized communities. Imagine, because I am representing the Govindpuri children who are coming from the Govindpuri slum area. So you can imagine a child who struggles with reading and understanding. Um, uh, 。 . 。 。 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。
Uh,
。 . 。 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。
I think.
Hello. Imagine
Yeah.
a child who struggles with reading and understanding textbooks, which is a common issue, especially in the classroom with a large number of students in a limited resource. And a classroom has a 40 to 45 children every time. In government school, goes beyond 60 sometime. In these settings, teacher might not have enough time to give individual attention to each student or each children. Some children may fall behind. So this is the challenge, even greater when a child's parents are uneducated and unable to provide academic support at home. So these digital devices, I agree that virtual platforms can address all these gaps. For instance, instead just reading about the science concept in the textbook, a child could watch an interactive video that shows that the concept in action. They could also listen to an audio explanation that breaks down the complex ideas into simple terms and participate in the virtual activities that allow them to participate what they are learned. These tools, digital devices, anything that children are getting in here in Katha Lab School or for the underserved community, the children, through these, their child understand and remember the information more effectively, catering to that individual learning style. So I think the teachers, we all teachers, educators, we need to, like other panelists also, esteemed panelists also said that these things actually will enhance our classroom teaching. They will not, I don't believe that these will make us you can say हमें tame नहीं कर रहा है, but we are actually using it for the better of the children. We have to go with the pace of the time in this
Right.
fast technology learning day.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I think we have gone through a round, and it gives me a number of other perspectives to deliberate. I'm going to ask you a little difficult question to Madam Nirmal Vadan. Right. The question basically is, when you look at the digital technologies, one of the primitive digital technologies of using a computer, I mean, that helps us really to learn, as our friends pointed out, for experiential learning, for visual learning, for auditory learning, for multimedia learning, and all that. But we are now advancing to a higher levels of technology with artificial intelligence, augmented realities, and others. And there is a fear that with these advanced technologies, which will basically subsume some of the activities of the human kind, probably the critical thinking and other thinking faculties of the children may be marginalized, and probably the children of the future generation will always become dependable. They will depend on technology rather than exercising their own thinking skills. How do you react to that, Madam Nirmal?
So it's actually a very valid question in today's generation. In fact, I wanted to share something with you all that we gave AI, how to use AI in a fruitful manner, um, a workshop to our teachers. And we were surprised to know that many of our children are far more advanced than us. They are using Chat GPT and all those things. So if the children use the proper prompts in the Chat GPT, the AI immediately generates a lot of creative thinking stories. And if you just write with a mystery and a twist, the prompts are correct in the Chat GPT. A beautiful 50-word or 100-word story can be generated. And the same thing the children are copying and they are presenting to us, which is definitely harming the creativity and the imagination of our children. Because when I remember when we read the stories of Mahabharata and all, we remember that in Mahabharata, Arjun's son Abhimanyu was said to have learned the skills of warfare from his mother's stories while he was still in her womb. But if the children are not allowed to think on their own, not think about the stories because of their creative thinking skills which are lacking nowadays, it's going to be very difficult for the teachers to build them, because these children want quick answers and they become little lazy. So they want quick outcomes from a lot of things, and AI is helping them in a lot. So I think we should all have a software with us which will let us know whether the things are plagiarized or no. And IB, the international schools, I think they do definitely have a software because they have to submit a research paper and
Yeah, I know.
short essay where even if one word is plagiarized in that essay, the whole
Is negated.
marks are is discredited. So the CBSE schools also should be having such software and such rules nowadays, I think, to discredit and disqualify the children, because my children are very smart.
See, basically, it amounts to the integrity of the individual, right? You can
Yes.
have any number of
Yes.
technologies through, but between technologies and people try to be smarter than technologies, and technologies tend to be smarter than the people. So this conflict needs to be resolved.
Yeah, definitely, and it's like the parents need to be first spoken about the values and the integrity, and to not to help the children much in all these things, and inculcate these habits also in the children of using the technology freely at home also. The hours also should be restricted and they have to be monitored. That's all I have to say. And AI is
It's a
definitely going to
challenge.
take over a lot of jobs also in the future.
It will create jobs also, but
Yes,
that's
of
the way the
course.
world goes through.
Yeah, of course, they are going to create jobs. Now there is a engineering called as prompt engineering, which is
Prompt
being,
engineering, I know.
yeah, this it's prompt engineering. And one of
Prompt
my
engineering,
child
I
is
know.
studying. One of my students has just gone to the UK and he's studying prompt engineering.
Yeah. That's I mean, many other things are coming through this one side of the story. Thank you, Ms. Nimbat. And that really puts me into a very tight groove where I think that with the technologies coming through, the next gateway to technology is quantum computing. Now, people say that what 100 computers could do in 1 hour, probably a quantum computer could do in a matter of 10 minutes. That is the speed with which the quantum computers are going to do. I'm not worried what they will do, but what has happened is most of these technologies have repositioned the human behavior. Now, when I was young, if I asked for something from my parents, they used to say, next month, when I get salary, I'll get you. So I had to wait for a long time to get my needs. With technology now giving input, output, the output is coming in nanoseconds, probably much more with the quantum computing. The children's urge to acquire things quickly is increasing. In other words, the tolerance levels decreasing, patience decreasing, and children are becoming what do you call instant decision makers. And this is something which is probably likely to affect an adverse aspect of technology. Jyotiji, how are you going to react to this?
Yes, I'm contemplating on what is happening around. Before saying anything about students, I think it is the adult has to change. I conduct a lot of workshops for teachers. The first thing I say is there is no Google that you will look for, search for items for your presentation. So I guess it has to start with us. And today another very sad thing is people don't want to read books. So if you don't read a book, you can't be a good educator. Maybe I'm wrong. Your AI tools are very good. I use ChatGPT. I do all the prompts. But the joy of reading is much better than all of that. The smell of the new book is something which is indescribable.
I've enjoyed.
Yes. The first thing we all do is smell the book. Padikkiromo illiyo. We read that first. So what's happening in schools, teachers are saying, Google it out. Then there is another concept of parents that my child should get the best marks, the highest marks. And parents are not in a position to support and feed the creativity of children. Because both of them are working. There is no grandmother or grandfather to tell their life experiences and stories. And I'm totally against this AI, using AI to make me more creative. I would rather use things. If my teacher, it's a AI is a good tool, good support. But for the child to write better, he should know some words. And if there is no light, if there is no power in the house, you cannot use your mobile or any other instrument and you're back to zero. So I guess this workshop that Katha would be doing would encourage students to write, to think, and if we are the resource people, we could help them to scaffold their creative thinking and not depend on AI tools for creative or critical thinking. Maybe I'm too old-fashioned, but
Not necessary.
we have to face realities.
Right, right.
I'm sorry, the latest Indian writers don't have the language the way R.K. Narayanan had.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, and we are
Conceptually, it was different.
Yes, conceptually, language-wise, and we are all used to writing in SMS form. Children expect to get marks. So
Language distortion is taking place.
distortion is taking place. So I guess we have an important role to play to kindle their creativity.
Right.
Anamika is smiling at me.
Thank you, Jyoti.
Thank you, sir.
And Ms. Rachna, I have a very different question to you. You know, the national education policy today talks about self-learning and self-directed learning. People argue that technology is a great facilitator for self-learning and self-directed learning as against the typical pedagogical patterns in the classroom. Now, how do you think so? Do you think that do you really need technology for self-learning and self-directed learning? Or even with technology, without technology, we can get on well with the self-learning and self-directed learning? How would you like to react, Ms. Rachna?
The midterm, I'm a principal of a school and it's a CBSE school, just like Gauri ma'am has introduced all of us. And our midterm exams are around the corner in another week or so. And we were comparing our term one results, the first test results with this midterm half-yearly exams. We set a benchmark for the teachers and the children that you have to get this score and then check whether that score is reached or not. And as expected, the bus gets missed by many. And then, okay, now how are you going to do it? Like, how are you going to prepare for the next exam? So when I started talking to the children, a common point which I found is that teachers did not tell us everything. I said, what do you mean by teachers did not tell you everything? Did they teach this lesson? There are 6, 7, 8 lessons, whatever there is in the syllabus. There is question answer, there is practice exercises. So there's a whole curriculum that gets made in a school. So which of it was not done? No, all of it was done. So is your syllabus completed? Syllabus. Yes, ma'am has taught everything, sir has taught everything. So now what? I'm unable to do this. A lot of children, at least 60 to 70% children say, I'm not able to do it. So how are you going to do it? No, teacher has to tell me how is it to be done. So now what I did, just yesterday I made a poster on self-study and sent it around, posted it in all the classrooms, asked the teachers to talk about it. So we were just discussing what is creativity. I don't remember my parents and my teachers telling me how to study. I watched, I studied, I learned. After whatever my teachers taught me in the school, the rest of the learning was my responsibility. But now the rest of the learning also lies with the teacher. The parents also think that the teacher has to teach everything, even the learning part. Now, the learning part cannot be done by the teacher. The learning part has to be done by the student.
Yes.
So there was this very nice quote which I came across. Your push-ups, you have to do it yourself. Nobody else can do it for you.
Right.
So it's something like that, that you can use technology to assist you, but technology will not do the job for you. Point one. Point two. My take is that it helps. Technology is useful as a self-study tool at a certain age, but at the primary level, at the school-going level, it is more of a tool to be used by the teacher to enhance that impact in the class, to address the new generation so that we can connect to them. But technology as a self-learning tool up to class 10, I'm not really for it, if you ask my opinion. Yes, it's
Good.
a teaching aid, but the rest of the learning has to be done the old way. Read,
Right.
write, and learn. Read, write, and learn.
Right.
So,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you, sir.
That really takes me into a very difficult question, which I'm going to put to Dr. Arun, because he has been basically a technologist, at all levels. I mean, as one who has been, with computers from 1981 and growing along with that, I have always argued that we have been using the technology for its very lower purposes than for its higher purposes. We have used the technology as a tool for substituting something. We have not used the technology for empowering and enabling, right? And therefore, I think our approach and understanding and use of technology has to be different, lest it will be an abuse of technology. How do you react, Dr. Arun?
Beautiful. Very well said, sir. I completely concur to what you just said. Going back to the challenges that we face in the schools with respect to technology that other panelists have highlighted, today the biggest challenge for the last 3 decades in classrooms have been introduction of calculus in the 11th standard, which is completely what technology is about. All of technology is about change, and change is presented through calculus. To the best of my knowledge, the biggest challenge there is the mathematics teacher is caught off guard. He or she comes into the class and says, physics teacher will take calculus. The physics teacher comes then and says, maths teacher has already taught calculus. So they both are not sure in 11th standard when the child is first time facing change and to grasp the advanced concepts of technology that you're saying, sir, which is so important for a child to appreciate and build things by itself. It is caught stranded, not able to connect all the pieces that is learned till the 10th standard, right? Which includes all small things. So that the gap is from there onwards widened so much, and we become potential just consumers of technology rather than creators. And it is I agree completely what you just said, because I think the change is imminent with tools like AI, which is filling in those learning gaps even for the teachers, because they need that kind of, why does things work this way, and we go by what is just barely necessary to build something, sir. In indigenous education system, we do not go theory first and then practice. We go practice first, prayoga first, and then fill in with the just needed theory. So that is the reason why children find it completely orthogonal to sit in a class, listen to theory, and then go out. When the lab time comes, you only have the lab assistant. The teacher is not there at all. You take any IITs or any of the institutes, the actual people who are practicing are different than the people who actually are explaining the theory behind what it does. And some of us technologists who are in our phases of raising these children, our own children who realize the potential in them, we are trying to change the things and work with you all academicians and understand the best practices of both worlds, and bring to the situation that you want to serve, which is creators of technology, using technology at elevated levels and not just mere consumers.
That's right. That's a very fantastic answer. Thank you very much. And given that there is a very little time, I have a last question to be addressed to, our principal from the Katha school. This is going to be related to storytelling itself. I strongly believe whether writing a story or telling a story is both an art and science, right? Now, it involves a lot of thinking, a lot of emotion, and both feeling the emotion and conveying the emotion. It is said of George Bernard Shaw, before he wrote something, he used at least 20 times he used to write and throw it off in the dustbin before he comes to that. I think today, the art of storytelling has absolutely been liquidated. Many people who tell stories like a dead calf standing in the class and telling the story. And I don't think the life in the story is brought about. Do you really think that the teachers are doing a good job by telling the emotional content of the story? Right? Because I'm not worried about the narrative of the story, but the emotions incorporated in that. Because because we are discussing about Katha. So I thought this must be a very relevant question.
Hello. So storytelling is, I believe, storytelling is both art and science and combines creative emotional elements. It's all about art. When we combine these emotional elements through bhavas and rasas, which is given in the Natya Shastra, so it's all about art. And when we structure the techniques and the purposeful engagement, it becomes the science to create a meaningful and impactful learning experience. So it's art and science both. And storytelling is much more than just narrating words or events. A teacher has to be a performer in the classroom. When a classroom of 45 children, the teacher has to see through her performance in the classroom that everyone is engaging in that story. If my eyes goes to that child, if I'm narrating some story, my eyes goes to some child, so looking at some child, the child must be looking at me. I should be that kind of a performer. I am able to catch that eyes of my child. So it is a powerful tool for education that engages multiple forms of intelligence. In fact, as described by Howard Gardner. Yes. For teachers, especially for those working with the children for marginalized section in the communities, should be trained in art and science of storytelling. And even in whatever the public schools and elite schools, teachers need to learn the art of storytelling. And then here in Katha, especially, we follow a pattern. When we do the storytelling, we have a story pedagogy in our classrooms, and we through that story pedagogy, when we tell the stories through using the bhavas and rasas till the class 9th, even CBSE also till class 8 and 9, they have in every lessons they have put some stories, some case studies and everything, because they want people to know about those things also. So I believe that for teachers, especially those working with the children of marginalized communities and others, they should be trained in this art and science of storytelling. And in classrooms like in Katha Lab School, we do tada, think, ask, discuss, act and achieve. Tada is all about thinking. When we do the storytelling in the classroom, so it's all about emotions and rasas in the classroom, the way the child is connecting with us. And then we do that. After that, when we talk about those whether my child is able to understand me, whether the child is listening to the stories, like we do some activities kind of thing like sawali sawal, it's questions and questions. So we always, after finishing a story, we ask children, acha, what happened when why the cow was black, there is everything, why this is happening, where was the child was living, where was the girl, parents go. So
Right.
when these things goes, but we don't do this in the class in Katha Lab School. We in fact ask children, now you have listened to the story, you tell me, you ask questions to me. So in randomly
That's
we
good.
put a sawali sawal. So in this way, so many such things that children must be facing in the classroom or in their family or in their surrounding. The emotional parts also comes after. If they are if they are bullying in their community, if the parents are something, they are not neglecting the children, not neglecting the children. So they actually
Good.
tells, when we do these kind of things, they actually come with those questions. So
Thank you. I think we are little running out of time.
yes,
And
sir.
before I just call it, I would like to open it to the panelists. Participants, whether they have a question. I think we can take up 2 questions quickly before we call it a day. Any questions from the people, participants? Please raise your hand, or you can just open up your video and introduce yourself and ask. Anyone? Any questions from participants?
In chat box, I'm finding, I think one participant is saying, why not we have it in Hindi?
Hindi.
So I think
Yeah, Mane,
we
ये
have to do
discussion.
it. We have to do bilingual discussion.
मुझे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, मैं कर लेता था, पर ये प्रॉब्लम ये है कि ये प्रिस्क्रिप्शन वाज इन इंग्लिश. अगर ये हिंदी में भी करना है, मैं कोई दिक्कत नहीं. सब लोग जो हिंदी जानते हैं हिंदी में बात कर सकते हैं. उसका प्रोग्राम अलग भी हो सकता है. I will be very happy to do that.
Yeah. I think previous two sessions, because we had in Hindi and a lot of requests came that we should have one in English. That's why this time we let it go in English. So what next time we'll always again come back to
Koi
every month.
dikkat nahi
We
hai.
will
We
have
can
this.
have it.
Bilingual.
It's always
Yeah.
the
So
other
I
side.
have a question.
Yep.
I have a question rather. So yes, we do know that these devices have been very useful. The panelists, what they have given about after listening to their discussion has been very interesting. Very interesting points have come up. So we want to know: does it really affect the critical thinking or a child's imagination? Are these devices hampering the critical thinking or imagination of a child? If any of the panelists can address
Yeah,
this.
I mean, I think I would like to respond to that. You see, basically we need to think about two things, three important words in education. One is teaching, the other is learning, the third is learnability, right? Now, all that happens in school systems is teaching. And so Aurobindo himself said the first true principle of teaching is that nothing can be taught. And the reason researchers in neural sciences very clearly indicate that nothing called teaching is only learning. I can go on talking for an hour, but no learning could take place because learning essentially is a neural network. And so long that neural network doesn't happen, and it's a strong network that's where the role of kathas come, where the kathas facilitate the emotional content for anchoring the concepts, and learning becomes from the what you call short-term memory, it moves to the long-term memory. So stories facilitate the movement of concepts from short-term memories to long-term memories. So there are lots of things to be discussed on that. So that's what is called learning. Learning is from the student's side. Presence or absence of a teacher need not impact learning. A textbook need not impact learning, right? So that's where the self-learning comes to. The word self-learning itself is defective because learning is naturally a self-oriented activity. Then the third term is learnability. The learnability of a learner is very huge as compared to the learning that really takes place. And all that what a good classroom should provide is to create a buffet approach where the possibilities of learning is thrown open to the learner, and any way he wants to learn, whatever way, whatever method, whatever strategy he adopts, and so long he learns and he progresses in learning, the job is done. So our very concept of schooling that we need to teach our children has got to migrate to a situation where how do we facilitate learning, how do we empower learning, right? With our technology. Technology could be just like a blackboard was there, now you got a computer, that's all. You use a chalk, but you use something else. Tools vary. Tools vary. These are all tools. Let's try to understand three aspects. One is the hardware, the other is the software, the third is the humanware. You may have a good hardware, but a poor software, no use. You got a good software, if the hardware doesn't work, you have a problem. You got a good hardware and software, but the humanware is not working properly, you have a disaster. Now, what's happening is a disaster because the humanware in education system is not operating properly, right? We are only fighting with the hardware and the software. All that what we need is to re-engineer the humanware, which is a participant. That's a very important thing in learning, right? With that note, I think I must thank all the participants, the panelists, for a wonderful response. I think we have had a huge interaction. I would love to recommend to Katha that they must have such frequent interactions on various topics, and I'm sure all will be partners in progress for learning the days to come. Thank you, Nirmal ji. Thank you, Jyoti ji. Thank you, Rajna ji. And thank you, Rita ji. And of course, Dr. Arun from Chennai. I would really love to interact with him in the future as one who is a person with, yesterday only I celebrated my 54th Teacher's Day, right? So that was a privilege of being a teacher. Right.
Wonderful.
So
Thank you,
we will
Dr.
interact.
Bala.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Katha, for organizing.
Before we all wind up, request Gauri ma'am to take over for a few more minutes. Over to you,
Yes.
Gauri ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Anamika. Thank you, Dr. Bala. Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you, Rachna ji. And thank you, Rita. And thank you, Dr. Arun. It was a wonderful experience having you all. Yes, we required both I mean, as much as technology is is a tool for us, we cannot do away with technology, but at the same time, uh, there has to be some human touch to everything, because it reminded me, because now through artificial intelligence we can do direct translation, but many words in the direct translations we cannot use it as it is. For instance, workshop in Tamil means pattaregal. Pattarai could be any kind of a pattarai, how we are using it. And somewhere we say that Oodadum Neradi Pattaregal, children will run away from that if they are reading that kind of a thing. So there, the actual, whatever the translation, whatever the digital help we are getting it needs to be that with the teacher's guide, I mean, or a parent guide, it has to be tuned to the needs of the children. And yes, we can't do away with, I mean, as technology grows, we have to go along with it. But at the same time, I mean, the essence, especially, I mean, when we are reading a storybook, like Dr. Jyoti was saying it, I mean, the smell of the book, the characters in that, my Hanuman is different from your, I mean, how you visualize. So those things are there. So it's a balance of both the things. And I mean, we have to live with it and we have to go with that. As principals of school, you are the best people, you know how to handle it. And many a times, like Rachnaji said, teachers, I mean, students teach us more things than as teachers. So we learn from children, we adapt ourselves, we mold ourselves, as well as we guide children also. And thank you. I hope that Katha National Writers Workshop will help children in a very subtle way. We will inculcate all this, whatever we have talked over here, when we are having all these children for our regional workshop and the finale. Our resource mentors and our storytellers and our people who will be guiding them, they will bring in all these elements. So we create a future generation in a much more positive way. Thank you, all of you, for the wonderful session. And we will definitely have more sessions like this. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, all of you.
I just have a small certificate of Katha when in 1997.
Wow.
Wow.
That's very interesting.
Great.
Writers Workshop. Thank you so much.
Thank
See you
you.
later. Bye-bye.
Jyoti ma'am, on another note, your backdrop itself is like Katha Talks backdrop, and which shows that you have literally hugged technology and you've updated your knowledge, whether by yourself or by someone else. But it's
No, I
lovely.
did it. Arun will be happy. I just finished a course in Power BI.
Wow, wow.
Okay.
And Rachna ma'am also was telling that she's used poster to send across to the students. That means how creative you all are. I mean,
You can't be left behind.
so nice. I mean, going hand in hand with technology, and the way Rita ma'am was also talking about, we need to be going in time. I can't be sitting back and not hugging technology, but at the same time, for the right channel, for the right cause. I had attended a workshop recently, and it said there that if a child is riding the bicycle, the front tire is by the guru and the back tire is by the parent. So here now, if you don't have a parent support or guru support, the child cannot be totally this thing. Absolutely. If one of them is only talking about AI and other one is only talking about manual this thing, then it gets topsy turvy. So I think that balance is very important. And you all spoke so well. Thank you so much to all the panelists. Lovely having you all today.
I think we only speak all the time, so it is easy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Rachnaji. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Arun.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all.